Привет, друзья! Сегодня мы поговорим о том, что нельзя делать по России. Now, as an American, one thing that I'm always very aware of when I travel is how bad of a reputation American tourists get abroad. And of course, in Russia, this is no different. Whether it's from what we wear or to how loud we talk, people always seem to make fun of American tourists. In Russia, this is no different, and sometimes it can be painfully easy to spot an American tourist about a mile away. Like any country, there are lots of do's and don'ts when you visit Russia. Some things that we do in the US and would consider completely normal are practically unheard of in Russia. Likewise, some things that happen in Russia would seem strange or alien to us. Luckily, I'm here to help. Today we're going to go over a list of 10 things that you should definitely never do when you go to Russia. Now, some of these don'ts are intended to keep you safe as you travel through the beautiful country that is Russia. However, others of these are simply if you don't want everyone to know you're a tourist. Some of these don'ts I have had to learn the hard way, and others I was thankfully warned about ahead of time. So now I'm going to warn all of you so that you don't make the same mistakes I did. The first thing that you should know when you go to Russia is do not drink the tap water. This doesn't apply necessarily to everywhere in Russia. However, particularly in larger cities, people drink almost exclusively bottled water. You can buy it at the grocery store, at a pharmacy, even at kiosks along the road, but generally bottled water is the way to go. This is because, especially in a lot of large cities, the pipes are actually very old. And in many cases, if you drink the water out of the tap, it can make you quite sick. Now, there are some Russians that drink the tap water, and of course it's totally safe to cook with because you're boiling it, and to wash or even to brush your teeth because you don't swallow it. However, if you're actually going to be drinking the water, I would recommend bottled water. Number 2 might sound a little bit gross, but it's important. In many places in Russia, you cannot flush the toilet paper. This goes back to those old pipes that I was talking about in number 1. Essentially, in a lot of old buildings, the pipes are not well equipped to handle a large volume of toilet paper being flushed down them. However, as buildings become remodeled in Russia, this is becoming less and less common, and both times I was there, I did see lots of places where it was completely normal to flush toilet paper. The rule of thumb is if there's a waste paper basket next to the toilet, and it's an older building, it's generally for toilet paper. However, sometimes they will even include a little sign that says, please do not flush toilet paper in this building. Believe me, your landlord or hostel owners will thank you for not clogging up their pipes. Number 3, when you are buying things in a Russian grocery store or shop or generally a smaller store, try to avoid paying with big bills. Naturally, some touristy locations are going to be fine with giving change and splitting large amounts of money. However, I've noticed a lot of times when I go to the supermarket there, if you hand the woman at the checkout, a 5,000 ruble bill, which is about $65, and you're buying something small, 9 times out of 10, she will ask you if you have a smaller bill. And sometimes if you say no, she will simply shake her head and refuse to check you out. Russia is not necessarily known for their customer service, and this is actually an incredibly common occurrence. Save everyone the hassle and try to do your grocery shopping with small bills or exact change. Number 4 is something that I know we Americans are very guilty of, and that is do not talk so loud, especially when you're on the public transportation. When I used to live in Moscow and was taking the metro, it was always so easy to spot the American tourists because they were the only ones practically shouting at each other on the metro. As a rule, Russians tend to speak very quietly. So when Americans are speaking loudly on the metro, not only does it give away that they're tourists and therefore much more likely to be victims of pickpocketing and things like that, but it's also incredibly disrespectful to basically everyone around them who's trying to read, have a quiet conversation, or simply enjoy a few moments of peace. Number 5 is something that is more of a safety concern, but if you are a tourist in Russia, I would highly recommend that you do not go to political protests. Now, protests, at least in Moscow and St. Petersburg, are relatively common. it's great that Russians want to get out and share what they think about the world and share their political views. However, as a foreigner, it's really a dangerous idea for you to be visiting these. A lot of times at Russian protests, there will be a lot of times at these protests, police will show up and they will start arresting people at random, whether they are associated with the protests themselves or if they are just bystanders. And if you get arrested like this, it is incredibly difficult for the US government or the US embassy to really do anything because technically you are the one breaking the law and they can't really help you out with that. Furthermore, as a foreigner, if you are arrested at this protest, you can be seen as a foreign instigator of political unrest in Russia. And while I don't know what the exact legal repercussions of this, I can almost guarantee that they are not good. One of the most terrifying experiences that I had was when a friend and I took a weekend trip to St. Petersburg, and we took a taxi to a museum, not really paying that much attention to where we were going. We just plugged in the address and got in the taxi, and he actually dropped us off right in the middle of a political protest that was happening on the same street as the museum that we had had no prior knowledge about. And you better believe that we hightailed it off that street as fast as possible, because by the time that we were dropped off, the police had already showed up and we saw them arresting people as we were getting out of the taxi. So yes, please don't go to political protests if you are a foreigner in Russia. Number 6, don't wear shoes inside the house in Russia. I don't know what it is, but Americans always seem to wear their shoes inside. And ever since going to Russia, I've realized how strange this is because I don't think that many other countries do this. However, in Russia, it's particularly forbidden because the street is seen as very dirty. And naturally, when you come in the house, you're tracking mud or dirt or, snow slush in on your shoes. So of course you're not gonna wear them around the house. Instead, Russians wear topachki, which are essentially house slippers or house shoes. So if you are planning to come to Russia, I would highly recommend bringing a pair of slippers with you to wear when you come inside. Number 7 is another one that we Americans tend to be big offenders of, and that is smiling at strangers. In the US, it's super common to walk down the street, and if you're passing someone, you might smile at them. I know personally, I am always smiling at people with dogs because I think their dogs are super cute. But in Russia, it's really uncommon to smile at someone that you don't know. In the eyes of a Russian person, a stranger is a stranger and a friend is a friend. And it's very strange if a stranger tries to treat you like a friend by smiling at you or greeting you. Furthermore, I know from the perspective of a woman in Russia that sometimes if you are smiling at people, it might give them the wrong idea about wanting to be approached. And again, that can be a bit of a safety concern. But even if smiling doesn't lead to being approached by, some strange Russian man on the metro, it still can definitely point out to everyone that you are a foreigner. And if your aim is to blend in, then I would definitely lose the smile. You don't need to frown and be angry to everyone you meet. Just try a neutral face. Number 9. All right, this one ties into a Russian superstition, and that is that you should never whistle indoors. I don't really know the origins of this superstition exactly. However, I do know that if you whistle indoors, it means that you will lose all your money. So if you come to Russia and you're on the metro or you're inside someone's house and you start whistling, be prepared for them to get very upset. The next one has to do a bit with the bureaucratic process of visiting Russia, but that is when you come to Russia, please do not leave your passport in your hostel or your hotel or wherever you're staying. This is due to the fact that in Russia, you are required to have your visa with you at all times because the police can stop you at any time. It's up to their discretion, and they can ask for your documentation. And they do this on the street, on the public transportation. I've seen them do it in shopping malls. But if you don't have your passport with you, they are at liberty to arrest you until they can verify your identity. So in general, it's just better to avoid that situation at all times. Carry your passport with your visa in it with you. Do not leave it wherever you are staying, and you will be fine. All right, and the final one, please, please, please do not go into churches without the appropriate clothing. I've seen this so much, especially in Moscow and St. Petersburg, where there are lots of tourists. It's something that is not only really irritating to Russians, but it's also hugely disrespectful to the church. What it means to dress respectfully to go into an Orthodox church is to, wear no shorts, and in some cases women should even be wearing long skirts, although that is becoming less common. And then for women, your head should be covered with a scarf, although I have seen some places if you just put up a hood, that can also work. There are, of course, some churches, especially in really touristy areas, like the Kazansky Cathedral in St. Petersburg or the Church of Christ the Savior in Moscow, where they don't enforce these dress code rules. And I have seen tourists in all kinds of wildly inappropriate outfits going into the churches. However, in a lot of smaller churches, especially if there are active services going on at the time, they can actually turn you away at the door if you are not dressed appropriately, which is a real shame if you have traveled out of your way to go to a place and then are turned away. So again, please don't dress inappropriately. Don't go into churches without your head covered if you're a girl. Don't wear shorts if you are a guy or a girl. Just be respectful. So that's all for today. I hope that these 10 things were useful and instructive and gave you an idea of some of the things that you shouldn't do in Russia if you want to have a fun and smooth journey. As always, thank you for watching my video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up. And if you would like to see more, go ahead and hit that subscribe button wherever it is. All right, until next time, пока!